everyone, I'm Crafty Kate and I run a small crochet business. On this channel we talk all things yarn and crochet. I finally wanted to take some time to make a tutorial for you all about how I modify the Diddy Dex Dragon pattern. So this is the Diddy Dex palm size snuggler pattern from Handmade by Jody. I will have the pattern linked down in the description if you're interested in getting it if you haven't already. So this video will be all of the different modifications I have made over the years to make it a little bit quicker to make, a little bit easier. If you've been around for a while, you know that this has been my best-selling make for 2 years in a row. So I have made hundreds of these, literally. So I have changed it quite a bit to make it a little bit less sewing and a little bit quicker to make in general. So also it is a palm size snuggler, so it's supposed to be tiny. I believe the pattern was designed in Parfait chunky size yarn. To make mine this size, I use either blanket yarn, Elise Voluto, Premier Basix Chenille, stuff like that, with a 6mm hook, 6.5mm hook or a 6, and that makes it about this size. I have used anywhere from 14mm eyes up to 18mm eyes. Right now I'm using, these are 16mm eyes, so really any size between those three will look good. So these are 16mm. So cute. So another quick note about the pattern, it is written in UK terms, so you have to translate it to US terms. If you make it in US terms but reading the UK terms, it will not turn out right. The face will be wonky and goofy and long because double crochets are not the same as single crochets. So keep that in mind. If you get the pattern, it is in UK terms, so you have to translate it to get it to look correct. So I have a couple of orders on my Etsy right now for these guys. So this is one of them I finished so you can see the finished product, and then we have another one that I'm going to make. So this one is going to be blue and light blue. These are both Elise Voluto. This one is color 141 and this one is color 218. So that will be very cute. And then she wants pretty aqua blue eyes, so very, very cute. And I use a 6mm hook with Elise Voluto, so that's what I'll be using. So in the original pattern, if you follow it exactly, you end up sewing the horns, the ears, the head to the body, the wings to the body, and then all 4 legs. For me, that's a lot of sewing and it takes forever, and sewing I always get messed up. So what I have done with this guy is I modify the legs slightly so I can crochet them in, and then I have changed the horns. Instead of crocheting a separate little piece, I do bobbles, and then I still sew the ears on, I sew the head to the body, and then I sew the wings on. So I will go over everything that I change as I make it. I have the wings done already, and I make those exactly as the pattern says. So just 2 little wings. I don't change those at all. And then we will start on the head, and I will show you where I do the bobble stitches, where I put my eyes. The stitches in the head on these actually make it really easy for the eyes. There's a very specific place that I put them every time, and it always looks perfect. So I will go over all of that stuff, and then we'll sew the ears on as well. So let's get going on this little guy, and I hope you guys find this helpful. Okay, so I made the ears first, and I make those exactly how the pattern says. So you have 2 little ears, so I have those done. And then I have the head. I have done rows 1 through 6, so we're up to row 7. Row 7 is where I add the horns. So for row 7, I'm going to start with 2 single crochets, and then I'm going to do my bobble, and I do a 4-loop bobble or a 3 partial double crochet bobble, I think is how you say it. So, and I do my new way of color changing so you don't get the colors left behind. I have a video on that I will link down in the description. I'm not going to go over it in detail here, but it works best if you do that special color change to keep the bobble nice and clean. Okay, so I'll start with my 2 single crochets and then my bobble stitch. And like I said, I do 3 partial double crochets or a 4 loop bobble. And then in between the bobbles, I do 3 single crochets. And then my second bobble. So that makes both of the horns. And then you'll just finish out the rest of the round as it says in the pattern. So here is what you end up with, the 2 bobble horns, and you can fasten off your color and tie it together in there. And then I do round 8, and then I do the eyes. So I'll do round 8 real quick, and then I will show you exactly where I put the eyes. Okay, so here's what we have after round 8. And then we're going to put the eyes in. So I put them between the rows that she says in the pattern. And as you can see here on this row, these increases that are across the front of the face, I put my eye here in this first increase where it turns to single crochets, if that makes sense. So there's an increase here. And then I do 1, 2, 3 over and put the other one inside that increase. So show you. Put that one there. And then the other one, we do 1, 2, 3 over in this one. So I'll put my other eye inside that increase, and then they usually end up perfectly centered with the horns and end up perfect. And then I'll also show you where I embroider the eyes. Since these are snugglers, I do a lot of embroidered eyes. So I have 4 pins to show you how I map out the embroidered eyes. And I will do the same thing. I'll find those increases and put my pin in the first one. So there's this increase here. So that's the bottom of my first eye. And then I'll go 1 row up and 1 stitch over. So we'll go in this one. So that will be my embroidered eye. And then I'll do the same thing, 1, 2, 3. So the bottom of my embroidered eye will be in that increase. And then once again, we'll go up a row and over a stitch. So this will be the other part of that eye. So that is where I would embroider my eyes if I were doing embroidered. But like I said, for the plastic eyes, I just go in that increase and then 1, 2, 3 over and that increase. If that makes sense, hopefully that helps. So I'm going to attach these eyes and then we will close up the head and sew the ears on. Okay, I have my eyes stuck in so that they're not fully attached yet. I haven't used my sinker tool yet, so they're just partially attached in there, but you can see how they look. And then this is my new favorite tool. This is the one from Amazon. So I use it to pop the backs down over 2 of the bumps. Depending on the eyes, I either do the first bump or the second bump. These smaller eyes look better if they're down past the second bump. So it gets them nice and sunk in. So now we'll stuff the head and get it closed up, and then we will add the ears. Okay, so here's our little dragon head all done, finished up, and woven in. And then to put the ears on, I literally just pin them right below the horn on both sides. So I use my Ami sticks and I just pin them right below the horn. She has them so they kind of hang down and angle back a little bit, and I like that look, so that's how I do it. You can really sew them on however you want. If you want them sticking up more, that's a cute look. But yeah, I just pin mine straight below the horns on both sides, kind of angled down. So I'll get them pinned real quick and then I'll show you, and then I'll get them sewn on. But really simple, and I just use a couple stitches on the back little part of the ear there to hold it down. And that's the easiest for me and gives it a cute little like baby type look. So here's what it looks like when I have them pinned on. So just right below the horns there. And then I just sew them on. So there's that little guy. He's looking cute. I'll be right back with the finished head and then we'll start on the legs and the feet. Here is the cute little head all done with the ears attached. Like I said, I angle mine down and back a little bit so that they have kind of a baby look to them. And yeah, for some reason the camera always makes things look crooked, but he's not crooked. His pretty blue eyes. So there he is. So now we're going to make the legs. So there's 4 legs, obviously. I'm going to make one and show you the little modification I do at the end for each leg. And then I'll make the rest and show you where I attach them into the body. Okay, so I have my first leg up until where she has you fasten off. So I made the leg exactly as the pattern says. And then my last step to make it easier to crochet into the body is I'll pinch it closed and do 3 single crochets through both sides to pinch it together and give you 3 stitches to use to crochet into the body, if that makes sense, just like you do with a ton of patterns to crochet legs in. So to get to the edge so that it's parallel with the toes, I have to do 1 more single crochet to end up on the side. So I just do that 1 extra single crochet and then I pinch it together and do 3 single crochets through both sides to close it up, and then I fasten off with a short tail. So that's the only modification I make to the legs, and really you don't even have to do that. You could fasten off where she says, and when you crochet it into the body you could just go through both sides of the leg. I just like the way this makes it just a tiny bit longer and a little bit floppier, if that makes sense. So you could do it either way. This is just how I do it. So I end up with the line of 3 single crochets parallel to the little toes. So I'm going to do that with all 4 legs and then we will start the body and I'll show you where I put them in. Okay, I have all 4 legs done. So if I can hold them all. So there they are. You can see they all have the same flat little 3 single crochets across the top. So they're all exactly the same. So now I'm going to start the body and I'm going to work it up to round 22. So I put the legs in round 22 and round 26. So I'm going to work it all the way up through round 21 and then I'll show you exactly how I do the legs. Okay, so I have the body up to round 22, so I just finished round 21. So for round 22, I'm going to add the legs in, and each leg has 3 stitches. So what I do is 4 half double crochets, and then 3 through a leg, 3 between the legs, 3 through a leg, and then 5 across the back. So we'll do that together. So I do 4 half double crochets, and then we'll do 3 through a leg. So you just hold the leg against the body facing out and you just go through the leg and the stitch in the body. So you do 3 through the leg, and then you'll do 3 into the body. So that'll be 3 stitches between the legs. And then you'll do 3 through the next leg, through the body. So you're not changing the stitch count of the round, you're just adding the legs in with 3 stitches in between. And then you'll finish with the rest of the half double crochets to the end. And that's it for the first set of legs. I'll tie the tails together inside and then they are on. So I'm going to work up to the next row for the front legs. So I put those in row 26. So I'm going to work the next couple of rounds and then I'll be back to show you how I do the front legs. It's a little bit different. Okay, I'm up to round 26, which is where I add the next set of legs. So here we are. And row 26 is a decrease round, so it's a little bit different. You end up doing decreases into the legs. So I start out with, so it might be different for you because of tension and stuff like that, getting it to line up, if that makes sense. So you're gonna have to see where it lands for you. For me, to get it to line up, I do half double crochet decrease, half double crochet decrease, and then I do a leg. So I do a half double crochet decrease through a leg, and then I do a half double crochet decrease between the legs, and then another leg with a half double crochet decrease, if that makes sense. So you do a leg using 3 stitches, you have 3 stitches in the middle, and another leg using 3 stitches, but you're doing decreases, so it ends up being fewer stitches, if that makes sense. So I'll just do it with you. So you're doing the same thing as the back legs with the 3, 3, 3, but you're doing a decrease for each one along with a half double crochet, if that makes sense. So you're just going to want to put it wherever it lines up with your back legs coming up. So yours might be a little bit different, just keep that in mind, but you want to keep the same number of decreases in this round so your stitch count doesn't get messed up. So I do a half double crochet and then a decrease, half double crochet, and then a decrease. And then I'm going to do a leg. So I'm going to go through the leg, through the body, and we're going to do just a regular half double crochet. And then for the next 2 stitches, we're going to do a decrease. And you can't really do an invisible decrease, you have to do a regular one. So you're going to do, through the first stitch, you're going to pull up a loop, and then you're just going to go into the next stitch and pull up a loop and do your decrease. So you used both stitches for your leg, if that makes sense. I'm going to do it again. So you'll yarn over because you're doing a half double crochet decrease. You're going to go through your leg and the body, pull up a loop, and then go through the next stitch of the leg and the body and pull up a loop, and then complete your half double crochet decrease. So that's your leg using the 3 stitches, and then between the legs you're going to do a half double crochet and a decrease. So that's your 3 stitches between, that becomes 2 stitches, and then you're going to do your next leg the same way. Through the leg you're going to do a half double crochet, and then you're going to do your decrease. So you go through the leg and the body, pull up a loop, go through the next stitch of the leg and the body, pull up a loop, and then complete your decrease. And then you're going to do 1 half double crochet decrease at the back, and that's the whole round. So you're doing a half double crochet decrease all the way around, you're just adding in the legs. So this is what mine ends up looking like. They end up perfectly centered above the back legs. So like I said, you might have to shift yours one way or the other, but that is how I crochet my legs. So then I just finish off the body like the pattern says. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll show you where I sew the head on. I'm pretty sure I just follow what the pattern says, and then where the wings go, and then this little guy is all done. Here is the body all done. And then like I said, I just sew the head on where it says to in the pattern, so I just hold it at the back of the head, centered between the ears on the rounds that she says in the pattern, and then I just whip stitch it on there. So I'll do that real quick, and then I'll show you where I put the wings, which is also I think where the pattern says. I'll double check before I do it, but yeah, so I'll just sew the head on, just whip stitch it on there, and then we'll do the wings. Okay, here is the little dragon with his head attached. You can see it's just centered between the ears, just like one round of whip stitch through there. Easy peasy. So there's the little cutie without the wings, and then I sewed the wings on where she says on the back, and I kind of angle this part out a little bit. So like that, but just going off what she says in the pattern. So I'm going to do that really fast, and then we'll have our little dragon finished. Okay guys, I have the dragon all done. Here he is. So cute. I love this pattern so much, and it is so much quicker with the little modifications that I do. There he is. Let me know down in the comments if you found this helpful, or if you have any questions. I don't mind answering those. I can't do a full tutorial on this obviously because it is not my pattern to share, but I hope this was helpful and makes it a little bit quicker for you to make this guy. Let's do a dragon emoji down in the comments for making it all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!